Today's a crazy day in the news. This is how crazy it is. Two ways. One, America's talking about a book, which that's a big change. And two, Trump found a white supremacist he doesn't like anymore, actually. First time it's ever happened. And it all has to do with a Michael Wolff book that's coming out in just a few days that has a number of interesting and provocative, even shocking revelations from inside of the White House. From I think he conducted something like 200 interviews. And primarily we're gonna focus on comments coming out of Trump's former chief strategist, Steve Bannon. There's a number of different elements of this, but some of the most interesting have to do with Bannon's views of the controversial Trump Tower meeting that Don Jr. and Kushner and others took part in. Here's what Steve Bannon had to say about that. The three senior guys in the campaign thought it was a good idea to meet with a foreign government inside Trump Tower in the conference room on the 25th floor with no lawyers. Even if you thought that this was not treasonous or unpatriotic or bad shit, and I happen to think it's all of that, you should have called the FBI immediately.
Look, pause here. There's 1,000 amazing angles to this story. But him calling the Donald Trump Jr. and other people involved in the campaign stupid, that would be gigantic news in any other administration. If the Obama administration had incredibly important factions, Biden is calling Hillary Clinton stupid, that would be like, whoa, what is this? Unheard of, unprecedented. But that is minor news compared to Bannon, the former chief strategist for Donald Trump.
Who headed up his campaign.
Yes, who was the CEO of his campaign, whatever that means. Saying that Trump's son and other top members of the campaign were treasonous. They betrayed this country. That's not a liberal saying it. That's Steve Bannon, the leader of the alt-right, saying it. His former chief strategist, that is, this news is unprecedented. I've literally never seen anything like this in my lifetime.
But I would argue that what we just read is less interesting than this next one, because there it's a view on what happened. He thinks it's treasonous. Okay, that's fine. That doesn't necessarily change the legal situation. But he then said this. He was quoted by Wolff as saying, there was zero chance Trump Jr. didn't walk the Russian meeting attendees up to his father's office on the 26th floor. Now, he's not saying he knows that it happened, and I think that you would be crazy to simply believe anything that Steve Bannon says without checking into it. But if that is actually the case, if there is evidence that that happened, that means that everything that the Trump family has said in the wake of the initial news about that meeting was entirely untrue, and that puts them in a totally new area of legal jeopardy. It's already, the Trump Tower meeting is already absolutely terrible for them, everything about it. But if Trump has been lying this entire time about, oh, it was just, they didn't have anything, we were kind of pissed about it, we rushed them out the door. If they brought them up to Trump himself to meet about that, I don't know what happens from this point on after that.
Okay, so let's break down a couple of really important parts of that. Steve Bannon now says, look, man, I didn't have anything to do with the Russians, so that's their business, not my business. He said, I'm not gonna get a lawyer, I'm not gonna go on national TV, presumably during investigations. Okay, one, with that quote alone, he's probably wrong, because any investigator in their right mind would say, why do you think they went up to the 26th floor to meet Donald Trump? What do you know that we don't know? We'd certainly like to know if Donald Trump actually did meet personally with the Russian representatives. And now that leads to point number two, which is, this is not being talked about enough. That in that meeting, the lawyer that they talked to, the Trump campaign talked to, including, by the way, Jared Kushner, wanted to talk about the Magnitsky Act, and that it was clamping down on Russian oligarchs.
Yeah.
Okay, and so the thing that the Putin and his oligarchs cared most about was that law. So that was not a minor meeting. That was the major meeting. What is the trade? You get rid of that act, which is blocking our bank accounts, and we help you win the election. So anyone involved in that meeting, that's already toxic. It's nuclear. And if Trump's involved, that's even worse, obviously. Yeah. But and it was about the Treasonous case. The Treasonous case is also about the Russian oligarchs. They had him. You know who had him? Preet Bharara, the US attorney in New York. You know what happened? Remember when Trump fired him? And then they settled it for a comically low number.
$6 million, I think.
Right afterwards. So It's the corruption, it's the collusion. The collusion is minor. As Bannon himself says here, as John will read you the quotes, it's the money laundering. What did I tell you from day one? I told you it was the money laundering. Trump, the Russians have put in hundreds of millions of dollars into real estate in New York and Florida to launder money. That's what the issue is. Finally, in regards to the importance of those quotes that we began with, why is Bannon saying it in the first place? Because, okay, sure, they had a rift at the White House, but publicly he's been generally supporting Trump. Breitbart, which he runs, has been saying the investigation is wrong-headed and it should be ended, etc.
Deep state.
So why is Bannon saying this stuff to a reporter? It's because Bannon knows what we don't know, which is that Trump definitely did it. Bannon was there. I'm sure that he tried to stay away, and hence why he's throwing everybody else under the bus and didn't want anything to do with the Russians. But having been there, having been in those rooms, right or wrong, I don't know what evidence he has, but it's obvious from his quotes that Bannon thinks they did it. I don't want any part of it. I'm throwing them under the bus so you know that I didn't do it.
Yeah, and important to bear in mind that while it looks like Wolff had multiple interviews and meetings with Bannon, many of them were before his rift, before he left the White House.
That's very important, because why is he telling Wolff all this stuff, trying to distance himself from Trump, when at the time he's still Trump's chief strategist? Because he knows they did it. It is the money laundering.
Okay, let's run through a couple more quotes. On that same vein, actually, Steve Bannon quoted in the book, which is forthcoming, saying, "This is all about money laundering. Mueller chose senior prosecutor Andrew Weissman first, and he is a money laundering guy. Their path to fucking Trump goes right through Paul Manafort, Don Jr., and Jared Kushner. It's as plain as a hair on your face. The Kushner shit is greasy. They're going to go right through that. They're going to roll those two guys up and say, play me or trade me." And then I hope that the president's son saw this today. "They're going to crack Don Jr. like an egg on national TV, adding that the White House should reconsider its apparent lack of concern over the Mueller investigation, saying they're sitting on a beach trying to stop a Category 5.
See, that's part of the reason why he's not on the beach anymore. And he just said, hey, look at those idiots on the beach. He already knows a Category 5 is coming. That's why he got the hell out of Dodge. So on whether it was money laundering or not, we have admissions. This is why people say like, Cenk, how are you so sure that he did a deal with the Russians? Well, his two sons have already admitted that the Russians have funneled all this money to him. Eric Trump said to a golfing reporter, "We have all the funding we need out of Russia." That's a direct quote. We have all the funding we need out of Russia, okay? And Dotson, the reporter, then asked, really? And Eric said, oh yeah, we've got some guys that really, really love golf and they're really invested in our programs. We just go there all the time. Yeah, Russian oligarchs, they really, really love golf. That's why they funneled hundreds of millions of dollars to Donald Trump. That's not why.
Rich people do like golf, in my experience.
And so that's Eric Trump. Donald Trump Jr. said back in 2008, quote, "Russia's make up a pretty disproportionate cross-section of a lot of our assets. We see a lot of money pouring in from Russia." How obvious does it have to be? So that's why Bannon says this train goes through Donald Trump Jr. and they're gonna crack him like an egg. Because the kid's an idiot, they're both idiots. They're so stupid, their dad, who's monstrously stupid, thinks they're dumb. Okay, that's how dumb the kids are. And then he wasn't done yet. Bannon also apparently called Ivanka dumb as a brick. So she's supposed to be the smart one. So
I think she is.
Guy, so look, it's about the money. It's always been about the money. The collusion during the election is a side effect of the money laundering that Trump's been doing for the Russians. That's why I thought he'd never run, because I was wrong. I thought that he would have to show his taxes. Turns out, no, he didn't have to show his taxes. He never showed them. But Mueller's in his taxes now, and he's also in the Deutsche Bank account. And Bannon also talked about Deutsche Bank. He said, Mueller's in Deutsche Bank, it's over. You're not getting it. Like you don't get it because the media, for all the talking that they do about Trump and all the talking about collusion, the minor little stuff that they make, I think they actually make into too big a deal in terms of the actual election stuff. The emails, was it stolen? Was it was it WikiLeaks? Did they get it from Russia? No, you're missing the big picture. The reality is that the election is the last part of the deal. Okay, so look, you can say that I'm wrong about it, and I've been saying this for a year, and I've been saying it based on evidence you already see in the public. But why would Bannon say it? Why would Bannon, while he's still with Trump, say this stuff? Because he knows they did it. He knows it, and he just said it. It's, look, man, in 1,000 different ways, it's game, set, and match. I mean, it's not like it's over today. Mueller hasn't actually revealed anything yet. There's been the actual indictments of Trump, the resignations, et cetera, et cetera. But this train, it's a runaway train. They think that they're going to call it fake news and stop it. They're not going to stop it. You know why? Because Trump is not smart enough to cover it up. As Bannon said on another instance, not related to this book, Trump has the mentality of an 11-year-old. You think he can cover up hundreds of millions of dollars in money laundering with the Russians? You think he's sophisticated enough to do that? Hell no. They're in the Deutsche Bank account. Na 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 na. And hey, conservatives, pick a side. Can't wait. Whose side are you on, Bannon or Trump? This is awesome. If you like this video, bless your heart. We got a lot more where that came from. We do a full show every day, Monday through Friday. Come enjoy it ad-free by becoming a member. tytnetwork.com/join.